A question that is often asked is, can religious faith and belief in science coexist? And how does one keep their faith strong in a world that will tell you all life was a freak accident? Let's discuss. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Scene in STEAM. I am so glad to have with me Ethan Purnell today. Ethan, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. First and foremost, congratulations on getting into medical school.
Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations to you too.
Thank you. So Ethan, I wanted to talk to you about religion and our majors because, while we were going through this whole process of applications, MCAT and all that, we would always talk about, it's really God that's pulling us through because when it comes down to it, stuff can be tough. But how do you think we can be both a good Christian and a good scientist? Because I feel like there are times where those coincide and maybe even, clash.
Right. Well, there was a song that my mom used to play, and it would annoy me so much. But the message in the song was there are more questions than answers. And I often feel like science, those are the answers that we're seeking when we ask these questions. Has there ever been a time where you just asked a lot of questions and thought, okay, this is the answer to those questions? Well, I feel like the problem with science is that there are times where we think we know all the answers. And when we don't know the answer, we find a way to figure it out. And I don't want to say there's a problem with science in itself, but science is man's perspective. It's how we see the world. There's a bigger perspective. And I think that as long as we're keeping God within everything that we try to investigate, then we kind of stay clear of, putting God in a box. So I believe that as long as we just, have faith that God is the reason for everything, then we stay clear of, man-made theories and whatnot. So I kind of feel like as long as we just have faith, we keep those things together.
Got you. Yeah, definitely I feel like it's not important to put things in a box or it can only be this one way because I feel like so many times we try to justify science to match the Bible when we should be looking at the Bible and then looking, for the answers in science, kind of the other way around. But for scientific theories like the Big Bang Theory or, macroevolution, do those things, kind of shake your faith? We're in a place now where we look at more of a interventionist perspective and creationist perspective, and we see that God is, a part of these things. But, when things like that do come up, does it ever make you think, what if,
Yeah. Well, I would like to hope that we didn't start from monkeys, or everything. If you think about it, the Big Bang Theory, everything had to be perfect for life to begin.
Right.
So honestly, growing up, I would hear these things all the time. And surprisingly, it never really shook my faith because I knew that, and I say surprising because I'm the kind of person that likes to give everything a beginning and everything an end. So if I don't understand how everything began, I would try to make sense of it. And I feel like, in a lot of ways, as you get older, you begin to understand, especially from a Christian perspective, sometimes you're not always going to have those, like we said before, answers to the questions. And hearing those theories, I always just kind of take it to, face value and nothing more, because I know, as a Christian, that God is the beginning. I know that there are things that from our perspective, we won't fully be able to understand because there are many, many more layers to science and understanding that we won't even be able to get into yet. Interesting theories, of course, but I don't put too much weight into, our theories because those are exactly what they are.
Right. And you're right, especially when we get into those deeper classes microbiology and cellular microbiology, and we see how intricate every cell is and how intricate these proteins are and how they work together in the body and DNA. It's how could those things possibly just be spontaneous?
Yeah, Because we're putting more almost faith into fate than a creator, you know?
Right.
So honestly, I would like to believe that we do have a creator who took time to think of the intricate designs and, you know, everything to smallest of like a cell to as big as humans. You know, I would like to believe that we have a creator who took time to make sure all those things worked the way they needed to, rather than, you know, fate. You know, everything just being perfect in the universe to create a Big Bang theory.
Right.
You know, with evolution, I don't want to use evolution. I prefer the word adaptation. You know, I believe that within the parameters that God made us, we have the ability to adapt and change. But I don't think, you know, we start and we might get gills if we live in, you know, water. Excuse me. We might get gills if we live in water. Or we might, you know, all of a sudden get wings if, you know, we live in the air. I don't believe that, but I do believe that God gives us the ability to adapt to our environment and
Right.
whatnot.
Yeah, and on both sides, you know, there's kind of that acceptance that microevolution has been a thing. So, you know, it didn't involve monkeys, but you know,
Yeah.
or certain animals maybe got longer beaks or larger talons to adapt to their environment, and or you know, the predators around them. So I think, you know, we can kind of see that on both sides, but it's the bigger things that, you know, you're right, it takes faith to believe that things came together so perfectly out of nothing. Because like everything
Right.
we learn, you know, in your chemistry classes, as a biochem major, like the consensus is things always become more spontaneous. It's never spontaneous to more ordered. You know what I mean? But yeah, so as you know, you take these hard classes and the whole process of getting into professional school, have you felt God, you know, kind of lead you through, or have you seen God like in your life in those instances where you're questioning if am I going to do well on the standardized test, or am I going to get into the school that I want?
You know, honestly, that's a really good question. I could say growing up, I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. But, you know, as you get older, you go through different situations, you think, oh, maybe I want to do this. You know, at one moment I thought I wanted to be a business major, or, you know, I wanted to be an engineer. So my mom would often put me in different schools, and I think, okay, this is how my life is going to go now. Then all of a sudden, something changes. High school, I go to a basketball school, and I think I want to be a basketball player. And then the last minute, something changes. And it always brings me back to science, you know, brings me back to wanting to continue my passion of being a doctor. And I feel that whenever I felt like I wasn't supposed to be in this major, like imposter syndrome, I would question whether I was good enough. And you know the struggle that we've had recently with the MCAT.
Oh yeah.
I I honestly didn't know if I was going to be in medical school this semester or next semester, right? I felt that I was going to take a gap year. I thought I was going to do some other things. I started making my life, you know, centering it around there. And the minute I start kind of like figuring out things for myself, God always puts somebody in my life who brings me right back to where I need to be. And that happened in all these different situations, especially with the MCAT. Somebody came into my life and told me to take the MCAT at a time where I already said I wasn't going to.
Right.
And I say all these things because I've seen how God has worked in my life to continue to keep me focused on my path. And I feel that when I try to make sense of things for myself, when I try to follow my own will, things don't work out because I'm always brought right back to where I need to be, you know, kind of like Jonah, you know.
Right out of the well.
Yeah, out of the well. I would hate to be in the well, but, you know, it's honestly, my life is mine, but my life is also belongs to God, you know, and my goal every day is to walk in His purpose. So I can say that if this is what God wants for me, then He's going to continue to open those doors and give me the strength to do well in the test, you know, give me the strength, and as long as I have faith, to do well, in everything that comes my way regarding not even just being a doctor, but, you know, being a husband or being a father or anything that he needs me to be, you know? So.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely felt you on that part about like always being brought back. So there's some times I'm like, are you sure that's really what you want me to do?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, just it's always comes back to that. And there's something else that you said. So like when we were taking the MCAT and all that, I know you had told me like, you know, I'm thinking, Gabby, I think you're doing all these things.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, like you're in medical school.
Yeah,
So, oh my
I know.
God.
Same. I'm trying to process it myself.
Yeah, but some instances it's like, hey God, well if you hadn't worked it out, then I wouldn't be here. So I know that's you know that's what you want for me. So I'm kind of gonna do it afraid, do it ready to make mistakes, but you know ready and willing to learn and do the best that I can. So.
Right. Yeah. It was a season. You know, it was a rough season, but it really taught me to just continue to have faith. You know, continue to have faith. Stay prayed up. You cannot do this by yourself. And I think as we both enter medical school, we need to remember that. You know, if this is what God wants for us, then we need to remember to continue to give our time to Him, continue to rely on Him, because we're going to be weak if we do this alone, you know?
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, well, Ethan, thank you so much for coming today.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys can follow Ethan at etrusty_2K on Instagram. It'll also be in the description below. You guys so much for watching. And Ethan, thank you again for coming.
Thank
It's great
you.
having you.
It's great being here.